Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through life with a strange, magnetic calm, while others are tossed violently by every storm? It is not that fate spares one and curses another. It is that one has learned to rest deeply within themselves, while the other has not. The world bends, not to the frantic will of the one who grasps, but to the still center of the one who does not need to chase. There is a hidden law here, known to the ancients and whispered by Stoic sages. Life begins to shape itself around the person who no longer wrestles with it. To understand this, picture a river. The impatient mind thrashes like a swimmer fighting against the current, exhausting itself in rebellion against what already is. But the wise one, the disciplined one, floats. They let the current carry them, not in resignation, but in alignment. Paradoxically, the swimmer who yields discovers control. The one who stops struggling learns the art of shaping destiny by not forcing it. This is the first paradox of calm power. Detachment does not weaken a person. It grants them the kind of strength that others cannot comprehend. For when the emotions of the masses are like wild horses dragging their lives into chaos, the stoic woman or man stands like a still mountain, unmoved, watching storms break against their stone, and others sense this. They may not know why, but they feel the weight of such presence. The psyche craves stability. Jung wrote of the deep unconscious where the archetypes dwell, and he knew that people are drawn instinctively toward the figure who seems whole, contained, unbroken. This is why calmness radiates more power than shouting ever could. The silent figure unsettles the restless, for they cannot project their chaos onto her. She has no hooks for their projections to cling to. She is self-possessed, and in that possession, she is untouchable. You may have noticed this in yourself in fleeting moments, when you pulled back from the need to explain, to prove, to chase recognition, and suddenly others leaned closer, wondering what gave you that unspoken authority. That is the shadow of your deeper potential, brushing against your ordinary life. Most ignore it, but if you choose to cultivate it, it becomes a force so magnetic that the world begins to rearrange itself around your silence. Think of Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the known world, sitting at night writing notes to himself, not boasting, not raging at enemies, but quietly reminding his own soul not to be disturbed by what he cannot control. That discipline carved an inner citadel stronger than any army, and it is that same citadel you are being called to build within yourself. For why? The outcome of a conversation, the opinions of strangers, but this control is brittle, born of fear. It shatters at the smallest resistance. The Stoic path teaches another way, not control through grasping, but mastery through release. When you let go of the compulsion, you regain your breath, your dignity, your calm center. And in that calmness, others see someone who cannot be coerced, someone who lives by inner law, not outer demand. The question is not whether the storms of life will come, they always do. The question is whether you will be the broken branch or the rooted oak. When rage, betrayal, or humiliation strike, do you become a mirror of chaos? Or do you remain the vessel of stillness that reshapes the room by your mere presence? This is the secret. The woman or man who has mastered silence bends the atmosphere of every encounter. Others feel unsettled, even exposed, because their usual weapons, mockery, manipulation, noise, fail against such stillness, and so they must shift, adjust, even bend to your calm. But do not mistake this for passivity. True Stoic calm is not weakness, nor withdrawal from life. It is the fiercest kind of engagement, to walk into fire and remain composed, to love deeply without clutching, to face loss without breaking, to look chaos in the eye and remain whole. Such calm does not shrink you, it expands you beyond the reach of those who would try to bind you with their moods or their expectations. If you learn to relax deeply, not into laziness but into disciplined acceptance, life itself begins to reconfigure around you. People sense it, they treat you differently. Opportunities seem to align, not because the world has changed, but because you have become a different gravitational center. This is the secret whispered by both the Stoics and the psychologists who map the hidden machinery of the unconscious. When you let go, the current carries you where striving could never reach. The deep calm that Stoics cultivated was not a mask, but a state born of training the mind to observe without attachment. This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you are disturbed, the disturbance is not in the thing itself, but in your judgment about it. To live in this truth is to reclaim the power that so many scatter across the opinions of others. Imagine a woman entering a room where gossip stirs like smoke. One whispers, another scoffs, a third tries to pull her into the storm. Yet she does not bend. She listens, but she does not absorb. Her stillness acts as a mirror, forcing others to see the smallness of their own noise. This is the posture of inner mastery, and it is not gained in a single day. It is forged moment by moment, in silence, restraint. The one who withholds affection as punishment discovers you do not starve for their crumbs. In that silence, they confront their own shadow. Your stillness becomes their revelation. But here is the harder truth. You cannot reach such stillness while you are secretly at war with yourself. Most people are slaves to the voices inside them, the echoes of parents, lovers, critics, all muttering judgments. To relax deeply is not to deny those voices, but to hear them without obeying them, to let them drift like clouds across the inner sky. When you cease to battle with your own mind, the world outside loses its power to unseat you. There is a quiet dignity in this. Seneca once wrote that the greatest empire is to rule oneself. Modern psychology echoes him. Self-regulation is the foundation of resilience. The nervous system, trained by years of chaos, can learn to rest again. Breathing deep, shoulders unclenched, the body remembers safety. And in that embodied calm, the psyche opens, like soil ready for seed. Life begins to grow differently around such a person, because they themselves are different soil. Consider how others are drawn to the one who does not flinch. It is not charisma in the shallow sense. It is gravity. A calm man or woman is not carried away by the seductions of vanity or the storms of outrage. They hold a space in which others feel both unsettled and strangely safe. It is unsettling because their usual manipulations fail. It is safe because here at last is someone who will not collapse under pressure. That combination is magnetic. And you, when you practice this, become more than a participant in life's chaos. You become an anchor. In relationships, this power is transformative. Where most plead, chase, or demand, the calm one simply exists, whole. The partner who once used withdrawal to control finds themselves powerless. The friend who tested loyalty with drama discovers their tactics ineffective. This is how calm shapes life, not through force, but through the quiet refusal to be moved by what is beneath your dignity. It is here that relaxation takes on a sacred dimension. For when you learn to rest, Even as the storm rages, you embody an archetype older than memory. The sage, the queen, the king upon the throne of the self. Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming whole. The Stoics called it living in accordance with nature. Modern psychologists call it emotional regulation. But all are pointing to the same truth. The world bends around the one who bends first within. So ask yourself, where do you still clench? Where do you still chase approval? Relaxation, in the Stoic sense, is not indulgence. It is mastery. It is the discipline of loosening your grip on illusions while tightening your grasp on what cannot be taken from you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that all outside forces are indifferent, neither good nor bad, until the mind paints them so. Modern therapy echoes this truth. The nervous system calms, not by eliminating threats, but by reframing them. A quiet mind transforms the battlefield into a field of learning. Picture the archetype of the sovereign, the one who holds the throne, not by violence, but by presence. Jung spoke of this figure as the integration of masculine and feminine, the conscious and unconscious, the ruler who governs the psyche from within. Such a sovereign does not chase power, nor cling to affection, nor panic at betrayal. They sit steady, and life arranges itself around their steadiness. This is not myth. It is psychology, embodied in those rare individuals whose peace makes them luminous. But peace must be forged. Consider the weight of unprocessed wounds, rejection in childhood, humiliation in love, failures that left scars. These fragments echo in the unconscious, pulling you into cycles of overreaction, desperation, or withdrawal. Without confronting them, you remain reactive, like a puppet yanked by invisible strings. Yet when you turn inward, when you confront the shadow and accept its contents, you sever the strings. You become whole, and wholeness radiates a calm so profound that others cannot help but recalibrate in your presence. You have seen this dynamic before. A man shouts, but the woman does not flinch. His anger begins to feel childish, exposed by her calm refusal to mirror it. A group mocks, but the quiet one does not answer, and soon their cruelty curdles into shame. This is how composure disarms the world. It reflects back to others the truth of their own chaos, without you lifting a finger. Yet this calm is not for others alone. It is your own liberation. For once you no longer surrender your worth to the shifting winds of opinion, you are free. Seneca wrote that the wise man is content with himself, not because he lacks ambition, but because his ambition is directed inward. The external world is unstable, but the self can become steady ground. That steadiness is not apathy. It is the soil from which purposeful action grows. Psychologists today call this secure attachment. The one who is secure does not chase, does not cling, does not fear abandonment, because they are already rooted in their own worth. To achieve this is to embody both ancient philosophy and modern science. It is to stand at the still point within yourself, where you no longer bleed energy into resistance, complaint, or endless comparison. Instead, you conserve that energy and focus it like a blade. The result is not withdrawal, but deeper impact. For life bends not to force, but to clarity. Every moment of silence, every breath you take in the face of provocation, every choice not to be moved by what is beneath you, these become bricks in the fortress of your soul. And when that fortress is complete, storms may break against its walls, but inside you remain warm, still, alive, From that fortress, you begin to shape your destiny, not by clenching your fists, but by opening your hands and letting the unnecessary fall away. The fortress of calm grows not from avoidance, but from discipline. Discipline to pause before reacting. Discipline to hold your silence when the ego craves to speak. Discipline to detach from the spectacle others perform in order to lure you into their storm. The ancients knew this. Epictetus reminded his students that no one can harm you unless you consent to be harmed by their judgment. Psychology affirms it today. The nervous system learns regulation through repetition, through the practiced refusal to be hijacked by impulses. But calm does more than protect. It transforms. When a woman or man refuses to chase validation, something remarkable happens. People who once held power over them begin to lose it. The critic, deprived of your reaction, falls silent. The manipulator, robbed of leverage, grows frustrated. The partner who used withdrawal as a weapon finds their control dissolved. This is how calm rewrites the social script. Life bends, not because you demanded it, but because you ceased to fuel its illusions. Consider Jung's image of individuation, the process of becoming whole. It requires embracing both the shadow and the light, the warrior and the healer, the rational and the instinctual. The one who has achieved inner harmony does not lurch between extremes. They are not dragged by desire, nor broken by fear. They stand, balanced. And balance in a chaotic world feels like a rare kind of magic. People cannot help but orbit around it. This power is not cold detachment. It is not the icy withdrawal of someone afraid to feel. On the contrary, it is the full embrace of emotion without being consumed by it. The Stoic feels love, but does not beg for it. They feel pain, but do not become it. They feel anger, but do not serve it. Emotion arises, is acknowledged, and passes like clouds across the sky. This is the art of profound relaxation, to let feelings flow.
That is where true dignity lives.
Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear dictate action. When you relax deeply into yourself, you no longer dance to the tune of insecurity. You act from clarity, not compulsion. And clarity changes everything. Decisions sharpen, relationships shift. Your very presence alters the room. Even in modern terms, neuroscience reveals that a calm state of mind activates higher reasoning. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of wisdom, foresight, and strategy, comes online only when the nervous system is regulated. This means calm is not just emotional, it is profoundly practical. Those who master stillness see more clearly, decide more wisely, and move with greater precision. Their lives are not accidents, but deliberate works of art. The woman who knows this calm walks into chaos and remains untouched. The man who trains in this discipline commands respect without demanding it. Others may not name it as Stoic philosophy or Jungian integration, but they feel it. They feel the weight of a presence that cannot be manipulated, a spirit that cannot be broken, a soul that no longer chases. And slowly, inevitably, they adjust themselves to that gravity. Life bends, quietly but unmistakably, around the one who has mastered themselves. The secret of composure is that it does not merely guard you, it reshapes the very reality in which you live. When you refuse to be dragged into petty conflicts, those conflicts lose fuel. When you decline to chase validation, those who once withheld it lose leverage. When you choose silence over defense, the noise of others echoes back to them, revealing its hollowness. Calm is not absence, it is influence of the highest order. In Jungian psychology, this is the emergence of the self, the unshaken center that integrates shadow and persona, instinct and reason, masculine and feminine. Most people live fragmented, torn between who they appear to be and what they cannot bear to face within. Their chaos is projected outward, filling relationships with blame, resentment, manipulation. But the one who dares to integrate, to relax into the whole of themselves, radiates stability. Others cannot easily categorize them, nor control them, and so they must adjust themselves in response. This is why Stoics often seem mysterious to their peers. Marcus Aurelius bore the weight of empire, but wrote nightly reminders not to be broken by either power or loss. Epictetus, born a slave, taught that true freedom is the mastery of one's inner responses. Seneca, facing death, wrote with serenity about the inevitability of fate. Their calm was not an escape from reality, but a piercing clarity that cut through illusion. And in every age, those who practice this discipline stand out. Modern psychology observes the same dynamic in emotional regulation. A regulated nervous system does not just serve
The calmest member often steadies the entire household.
in relationships. The partner who does not spiral drags the cycle toward resolution. In leadership, the figure who does not panic under pressure inspires confidence even in chaos. This is the gravitational pull of composure. It alters the field for everyone within it. But here lies the paradox. You cannot fake this presence. If calm is only a mask for hidden desperation, others will sense it. They may not consciously know why, but they will feel the fracture. True calm emerges only when you release the need for control, when you embrace impermanence, when you allow yourself to exist without demanding that the world validate you. It is born of depth, not performance. Ask yourself, how much of your energy is spent in tension? Clenching against outcomes, rehearsing conversations, chasing recognition, resisting silence. What would it mean to release that grip, to let yourself breathe, to let the world move as it will, while you remain whole? This is not surrender to weakness, it is surrender to strength. For only the strong can afford to let go. And once you do, you will see how life begins to shape itself around your presence. Relationships shift. People who once took advantage withdraw, unsettled by the fact that their old tactics no longer work. Opportunities appear, not because chance changed, but because your perception cleared. And within you, peace deepens. You become both softer and stronger, both more yielding and more unbreakable. The woman who embodies this no longer pleads to be chosen. The man who embodies this no longer fights to prove himself. They exist in their own gravity, and others come to them. For as Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Calm is the proof. It is the quiet revolution, the victory won without raising a weapon. To live with this kind of inner stillness is to step beyond the ordinary rhythms of fear and craving. It is to rise into a state where the external world continues to swirl, but you are no longer bound by its turbulence. This is why Marcus Aurelius spoke of building an inner citadel, a fortress not made of stone but of unshaken perception. Within such a citadel, you are not untouchable because life spares you, but because you have ceased to hand your power over to what is beyond your control. The woman who builds this citadel within herself becomes untamed by external approval. She does not crumble when ignored, nor does she inflate when praised. Her worth is not on loan from others. It is seated deep in her own being. And because she no longer needs to beg for recognition, recognition seeks her.
When your mind rehearses the battle of being right,
when your body clenches against the possibility of rejection. In those moments, the Stoic discipline is not denial, but awareness. You breathe, you watch, you allow the impulse to rise and fall without acting it out. Each time you practice this, you grow stronger. Each time you refuse to chase, you become more rooted. Modern psychology affirms what the ancients intuited. Safety is not found in control of the world, but in regulation of the self. The nervous system, long enslaved to survival instincts, learns that calm can be chosen. The fight, flight, freeze, these no longer dominate you. Instead, you cultivate stillness, and from stillness, clarity. You see the games people play, the hooks they cast into your shadow, and you let them fall into silence. And the silence unsettles them more than any retaliation could. Think of how power shifts when you no longer need. The one who begged becomes the one who chooses. The one who was once reactive becomes the one who responds. And the world, sensing this change, reorients itself. Those who thrived on your insecurity drift away. Those drawn to your strength begin to gather. Opportunities, relationships, even chance encounters start reflecting the steadiness you embody. Life is not bending out of superstition. It is bending because you have become the axis around which it reorganizes itself. And what of love? To love from calmness is to love with freedom. The clinging lover suffocates. The fearful one controls. The desperate one depletes themselves. But the one who is whole loves without needing to bind. They can walk away without bitterness, remain without chains. Their love is an offering, not a bargain. And such love is rare, so rare that when others encounter it, they feel both exposed and deeply safe, as though they have met someone who lives from a higher law. This is why the Stoics were never as cold as their critics claimed. They were not detached from life. They were deeply immersed in it, but without drowning. They could face death without despair, love without losing themselves, endure betrayal without collapsing. Their secret was not indifference, but clarity, a refusal to let what lies beyond their control define the state of their soul. And so, the question that echoes through time is the same question that faces you now. Will you allow life to toss you like a leaf in the storm, or will you build the stillness that bends the storm around you? The choice is not in the future. It is in every breath, every pause, every moment you choose to remain whole when others try to fracture you. The power of calm is not passive, it is generative. From the silence within, action flows with greater precision. The Stoics understood that the emergence of the self is a guiding center beyond the ego's compulsions. Both traditions point to the same reality, that the one who rests deeply in themselves begins to act from a place untouched by chaos. Imagine the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is fast, compulsive, defensive. It drains you, and it often enslaves you to the behavior of others. Response, by contrast, arises from pause, from observation, from inner authority. When you master relaxation, when you refuse to be ruled by the panic of the ego, your every movement becomes response. And response has power because it is chosen rather than forced. This is why calm leaders change rooms without raising their voices, why calm lovers heal rather than wound, why calm thinkers reshape the future while others drown in the noise of the present. Their power is not theatrical, it is elemental. They are like the still center of a hurricane, unmoved while everything else swirls. Others cannot help but adjust themselves to that presence. And yet, this mastery always begins within. You cannot command a storm you have not faced in yourself. The shadow must be acknowledged, the anger you suppress, the fears you deny, the longing you disguise. To relax deeply is not to push these away, but to sit with them, to breathe with them, until they lose the power to hijack you. Jung taught that what you do not make conscious will control you from the dark. The Stoic and the psychologist agree. Freedom comes only when you face the hidden parts of yourself without flinching. This is why silence unsettles people. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing approval, when you stop reacting to every provocation, you force others to face their own shadows. Your stillness acts as a mirror. They project their chaos, and it bounces back untouched. Some will be drawn to it, sensing safety. Others will be repelled, unable to stand the reflection of their own disorder. Either way, you remain whole. In relationships, this truth is especially transformative. A woman who no longer begs to be chosen becomes the one who chooses. A man who no longer needs to prove himself becomes the one others try to prove themselves to. Calm does not chase, it attracts. It does not grasp, it receives. It is the quiet force that reorders dynamics without force or pleading. This is why the Stoic life is not cold withdrawal, but passionate engagement. It is the freedom to love without clinging, to give without depletion, to face loss without collapse. It is the courage to live fully because you no longer fear the shifting tides of circumstance. And in this freedom, life itself seems to conspire in your favor, not because fate bends to you, but because you have stopped bending to illusion. To relax deeply, then, is not merely to rest. Ex pracidamenta, pause, is sex 0.05. It is to embody the truth Marcus Aurelius whispered to himself in the solitude of power. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.